All right, we're back with the fourth and fifth Mishna of the second chapter of Mesechet Kinim. If you recall, this chapter is dealing with cases of partial mixture, and after getting through this peculiar case of the third Mishnah, they're now giving us some other cases of partial mixture to show us how this rule works. It says ken stuma, an arbitrary nest of cholva, of obligatory birds, where it has not yet been declared which is the chatas and which is the ola, rather that there's just a dependency between them, that they're a pair, ken stuma. But ken meforeshet is, the woman said, this is my chatas and this is my ola, and she put them together, which means that really both of them are already puzzled, because it's a case of a chatas getting mixed up with an ola. So ken stuma v'ken meforeshes, parach min hastuma the meforeshet. Something flies from the stuma to the meforeshet. Well, flying from the stuma to the meforeshet is the same as flying into a group that's being left to die, to fly to meitot, as we had at the end of Mishnah Gimel. Yikach zug l'sheni, just like we had in the first mission of this parak. If it flies into the air, or it flies into the meitot, or if it dies, you take out the yikach zug l'sheni. You go out and buy a second bird. Here also you buy a second bird. Ken stuma v'ken meforeshes, an ordinary nest and a nest that's been declared. Parach min hastuma meforeshet, flies from the stuma meforeshet. Yikach zug l'sheni. You go out and buy another bird. Chazar, something flies back from this a mixed up ken meforeshes, declared birds, or chazar parach min ha-meforeshes rishon, or originally I had meforeshes and stuma, and something flies from the meforeshes into the stuma. Harei kulan yamutu. You have to leave them all to die. Okay, that's simply to say there are cases where, to remind you that when you deal with cases where you have mesis, there are cases where you can sometimes salvage some birds, and other cases where there's nothing to salvage. Okay, that's really sitting as a continuation of the explanation, which was the last phrase in Mishnah Gimel, in the third Mishnah. Now Mishnah Hey, it's a long Mishnah. It says chatas mekan va'ola mekan v'stuma be'emtza. So let's say I have three groups. I have sin offering chatas birds on one side, and I have ola birds, free world birds on the other side, and in the middle I have these stuma birds that are a pair, but they haven't been declared which is which. So what happens? Parach min ha'emtza l'tzadim. From the middle, one bird flies into the chatas and one bird flies into the ola. So I say, what do I care? Whatever, Eila yomar zeh shalach lo ifsida klum, I haven't lost any. Eila yomar zeh shalach etzel chatas. Whatever flew into the chatas, I'll use as a chatas. Bezeh shalach etzel ola. And whatever flew into the ola, I'll use as ola. I'm not violating anyone's intention, just the fact that they flew into these sets has forced me as to how I'm going to have to use them without violating the intention of the owner. However, chazar le'emtza ha'emtza yamutu. But after the ones from the stuma fly into the two end groups of chatas and ola, something flies back into the middle. What flies back in the middle? Yes, it might be the original stuma, or it might be a chatas, or it might be an ola. So the stuff in the middle is confused, and I don't know what to do with it. Let the ones in the middle die. But the two end groups, the chatas and ola, eli yakriv chatas, eli yakriv ola. Chazar from the middle. O parach min ha'emtza l'tzadi. However, it now gets mixed up. Harei kulan yamutu. You can't use any of them because you have a chance that the chatas has wound up in the ola, and you have a chance that the ola has wound up in the chatas. All right. So here in the second half of the last Mishnah of the second chapter of Kinim, it raises an idea which you might think you could use to help make these problems easier. And it uses this idea not only to show you that this idea doesn't work, but that there's something much more interesting that's going on in halacha than what we might have suspected up until now. It says, Ein mevim torim keneged b'nei Yonah. You might have the idea that you can bring birds of two different species, and therefore you could always identify who's who. And it says, no. The example here is that you don't bring doves together with pigeons, v'lo b'nei Yonah keneged torim, and not pigeons with doves. And again, for the purpose of the logic, there's no simanim in all of this. There are no identifying marks. And so they give you an example of how it would work if someone tried to solve things this way. But again, they're leading you into an idea where the first half of what they're showing you, you should be able to follow, and the second half really has the interesting kiddush that they're trying to force you into thinking about. So the first part is Ketzad. For example, Ha'isha she'ivia chatas tor. Woman brings her sin offering as a dove. Va'olasa, and her free offering, she brings ben yonah, pigeon. So what do you say? You say, if you can't bring the two of them, tikpol v'tavi ola sator. Bring your ola, your free offering, as a tor. Just the way you brought your chatas as a tor. Or there's another version that says, ola sor b'chatasa ben yonah. What if she brought her ola as a tor and her chatas as a ben yonah? Tikpol v'tavi ola ben yonah. Why? Because the chatas was a ben yonah, so also bring the ola as a ben yonah. Meaning, there's an idea here that whatever you bring the chatas as, then the ola has to be the same species. Now comes the kicker. Ben Azai Omer, holchim acharei harishon. He says it doesn't work that way. It's not that the chatas decides what the ola, whatever the species of the chatas is, that's the species of the ola is. He says it's according to whichever one was brought first. Now, he's going to prove it to you. And he says, Ha'isha she'ivia chatas of amesa. A woman brings her chatas, her sin offering, and the woman dies. Yaviu hayorshim alasa. Her inheritors, her estate, should bring her ola, should bring her free will offering, because it's going to be for her merit. No problem. However, ola savamesa, what if she brought her free offering and then she died? Lo yaviu hayorshim chatasa. Her estate will not bring her sin offering, because the sin offering would be in substitution for her dying. She's died, and therefore she has no more sins to work out in this mechanism. And so you have a case where if she brought her ola, the ola has decided, because there's never going to be a chatas. What's the problem here? Ben Azai shows us there is a case where the first one decides. He has not proven that the idea that the chatas decides doesn't work. But he has proved that there's a case that where there's no chatas, that the ola decides, and that's okay. So the curious part of this is that even though we'd like to follow the idea that the chatas decides, there is a legitimate case where the ola decides, because it was first and because there's never going to be a chatas. So you're here in a situation in halacha where there are two opinions and both of them have a validity. You can say, I prefer one, but if you went according to the other, you're going to be okay. In other words, in the package of the logic of best practices advice, there are situations where there can be multiple solutions which are acceptable. This isn't going as far as pluralism, but it's certainly a step in a direction that would be unexpected in many instances of halacha, but that you always have to have an eye out for. That concludes the second chapter of Mesechet Kinim.